God bless.
I have that document from the rat house for you.
Excellent. I knew I could count on you.
I even managed to get my hands on the key to the chest with the confiscated things.
Very good. Give that to me too.
Well, I thought it might come in handy.
Come on. Give it here.
Fine. Here it is. I took a look at the document. I couldn't really make much of it. Who's this Hermes Trismegistos?
My fifth cousin. We write to each other sometimes.
That doesn't sound very convincing.
Did you find my family tree at the rat house too? Now show it to me, so I can finally get the knowledge. Good. Good. This will come in handy. Ah, yes. Of course.
What now?
That much? Going to need more. A lot more.
Did you hear me? What now?
Sorry. I got lost in thought. I owe you my thanks as well as reward for getting me the document. And maybe another little job? What do you say?
Don't tell me you've forgotten. I need to get to that wedding in Semin.
Don't worry. Your path is leading that way. Only it'll be a little longer than expected.
Another miller's trick. Why doesn't that surprise me?
Now, there's no trick. I promised I'd get you into that wedding. You'll just have to put in a bit more effort first. Besides, things are about to get really interesting. Step by step, we're moving closer to the great revelation.
Enough. I'm sick of listening to your cryptic blabbering. Supposing you first initiate me into the mysteries of your enchanting mill. This isn't any run-of-the-mill business, so to speak. I smell something devilish here.
Devilish? Not at all. It's high learning. Alchemy! And when I say alchemy, I mean real alchemy. Not some hocus-pocus brewing of potions for creaky joints and bellyache.
Tell me more about it, then. Maybe I'll learn something useful.
I wouldn't be so sure, but I've taken you on as an apprentice, so I might as well tell you something. Now, pay close attention. I want to make a golem out of dough. Then, using secret alchemical practices and theurgy, bring him to life.
A golem? What's that?
A golem is a helper brought to life using divine words. A living statue endowed with massive strength. Can be made of clay, wood, stone, basically anything. I'll make one out of flour. Studying the Jewish Kabbals taught me a practice known as Maseh Bereshit. A mystic can use it to imitate the work of God. Just imagine. You know how helpful a golem would be at the mill? Carrying sacks, pulling wagons, standing guard. He wouldn't be much smarter than Zinnik, but he'd have the strength of 10 men.
You're trying to play God? You know they could burn you at the stake for something like that. It's witchcraft.
Ah, horseshit. It's in the interest of the advancement and prosperity of mankind. Just look at the Bible. Moses could command the waters and speak to God through the element of fire. And Jesus brought the dead back to life. I've no doubt that if our great holy Mother Church had been around at the time, they'd have crucified Jesus the same as the Pharisees. And all the apostles would have been burned at the stake.
So a golem, you say, made of flour? For the good of mankind?
Exactly!
And what about the good of me? You promised me a reward.
You already know that you can learn the practical application of certain useful skills from me. But for a few groschen, we could discuss the art on a more, let's say, theoretical level.
I'm overwhelmed with gratitude. Supposing you give me a few groschen first, as a reward for bringing you the document, and then I'll decide whether to trade the coin for some learning.
Oh, see now, I completely forgot. Here you go. So you don't go around saying that Miller Crazel is a pinch purse. I added in what I owe for those sacks you carried. And if you want some more work, there's plenty.
I don't know, Crazel. Alchemy, golems, documents in locked chests. I reckon I've had enough. I'll have to think about whether I want to continue with this art of yours.
I get it. Greater good of mankind isn't everyone's goal. But don't forget, I can get you to that wedding. Miller's honor.
Careful. Greetings to you.
What's the purpose of that pen? I see you're not grazing livestock there.
Indeed we're not, friend. That's where we learn how to fist fight.
Fist fight? How come?
Why do you think? It's a pretty handy thing to know, and it's 100 times better than sitting on your arse all day.
Does the miller know about this?
Crazel? He came up with the idea, mate. Hey, fancy having a go?
And who takes part in these bouts?
Well, the first is of course me. If you manage to beat me, you can try Malik. He ain't as fast as me, but he's got a stronger punch. And if Malik ain't tough enough for you, there's always Vera. He'd tear you to shreds.
And how do these fights work?
Nothing to it. You put aside your weapons and armor, challenge one of us, and hop in the pen. And from there on, it's pretty clear, I suppose.
I'd love to try these bouts of yours. Shall we?
Wait a mo. First you need to get permission from the miller.
Crazel? Why's that?
He's the one who came with the idea and made it work. He's looking for a champion among us for the Zheleyob tavern fights. There, they have proper brawls. Not like here.
Praise God.
What's this next job all about?
I need to find a saltpeter pit.
Never a wasted word, eh, Crazel?
Short and to the point. That's my credo.
And how long will it take before you tell me what a saltpeter pit is?
A saltpeter pit is a pit in which saltpeter is formed.
This has something to do with the alchemy of yours, eh? I don't know much about that stuff.
Nitra is saltpeter. White crystals similar to salt.
And what needs salting here in the mill? Or is it supposed to be some peculiar Crazel wedding gift for a young semi?
Nothing of the sort. The Kabbalistic doctrine speaks of saltpeter as a vessel for the inexhaustible essence of life. Those white crystals are said to contain the very essence of being. That's precisely what we need to give life to our golem. Thanks to the ingredients from Hermes Trismegistos, his feet will never get tired, and his fists will have the power to smash rocks. But saltpeter is the most important thing. Saltpeter will be the golem's heart.
So you're serious about this golem? And are you certain it'll work out?
Certainly. Otherwise, I wouldn't even try.
How much saltpeter will it take to bring to life such a big creature?
A lot. That's why I want you to find me a decent saltpeter pit. Do you understand?
I was hoping I'd learn something useful from you. But instead, you're making me wander around the countryside looking for some pit.
Well, you never know when an experience like that might come in handy.
All right then. I'll look around for that saltpeter pit of yours. I just hope you know where to look, that you can point me in the right direction, and also that you'll get me into that wedding as a reward.
Yes, yes, and yes. Bonnie has a lead. She's a damned handy girl to have around. She can do anything you ask of her. But for you, the most important thing is that she knows how to look for niter, or saltpeter if you prefer.
So this Bonnie is some kind of witch who's in on this golem stuff.
Bonnie is someone I trust without question, and you should too. Not only will she teach you how to find saltpeter, but also how to differentiate it from common salt. The main difference is it has kind of cooling taste.
Hold your horses. You want me to taste that nasty stuff?
If you don't taste it, you could confuse it with some nasty rot. You don't want that.
Damn right.
Don't be such a lily liver, Henry. If Bonnie can taste saltpeter, so can you. She'll tell you the rest herself. You'll find her in the lair. That's a secret storage space I have here just by the pond. Only my best people can get in.
How can I get to this lair?
There's a bridge over the mill stream towards the southwest. Take the path to the left, just behind it along the pond. From that path, you turn right, uphill, between the rocks, and you'll find yourself right in front of the lair. You can't miss it. Oh, and so I don't forget, you could pick some herbs along the way to see Bonnie. It would make her very happy. She's just been through some tough times. Her dog died, and on top of that, she has to spend time with that blabbermouth, Zinnik. On the other hand, Zinnik might be holding his tongue for a while after his encounter with the Troskowitz stocks.
If Bonnie spends time with Zinnik, she may want some spirits rather than herbs.
Bonnie? Never. Being a decent Christian, she avoids alcohol like the plague. Right along, so you're back as soon as possible.
So the lair.
I'll be with you.
What was that noise? Woodcutters?
God bless you.
I'm Henry, Miller Crazel's new apprentice. He sent me to search for a niter pit and said you might be able to help me with that.
Of course I will. I'm Bonnie. Nice to meet you.
Bonnie? It's not a name I hear often.
It's not the name I was baptized with. In our craft, it ain't a good idea to tell people your real name. That's why we use nicknames. What should we call you?
The poet.
Well, that's not very creative. You know what? I'll come up with a nickname for you myself when I get to know you better. Did you bring me something from the mill?
Actually, Crazel said you'd appreciate some herbs.
He's right there. Do you have some for me?
I've got something here.
My word, that's exactly what I need. The ingredients for the magic ritual.
What kind of magic ritual?
The kind where Zenek finally gets some sense into his head and stops making stupid beginner's mistakes. Just so you know, that mess with the author of Hermes Trismegistos would never have happened to me. Not me. While we're on the subject of rituals, did Crazel tell you about the golem?
He did.
And what do you think of it?
Well, if that beast doesn't slay us as soon as it comes to life, then sooner or later some inquisitor will find out about it. I think it's all witchcraft. Playing with fire.
Playing with fire. If you only knew. But don't worry. I'm sure it'll be a peaceful golem, just like Crazel imagines it. Calm and humble, and it'll help all of mankind. But that's enough of that. We're not going to stand here talking about flower golems when we've barely just met. I'd like to chat with you too, Henry. Get to know you a bit. But if you're in a hurry to find Crazel's saltpeter, I won't keep you.
No. I have plenty of time. But where to start?
You know what? I'll start. When they caught Zenek in Troskovitz, I was scared out of my mind that they'd catch me and clap me in the stocks. I had to hide out here for a while, so I haven't had anyone to talk to. Life in the lair isn't all fun and games. Zenek and all the other mill knuckleheads were never worth much as company. So I'm glad the millers finally found a normal hand for once. But it's a shame I don't have my dog Sniffer no more. It was fun with him at least.
Crazel mentioned that he died.
Aye, from some fucking disease. He started getting these lumps all over his body. Then he stopped eating and what about you? What kind of family are you from? Also, thieves?
No. Pa was a blacksmith. I inherited something from him, I hope.
Oh, really? Would you teach me how to make, maybe, barrel hoops?
Well, those are pretty hard. Wouldn't you rather start with, maybe nails?
Sure. I'm pretty quick to learn and patient. That is, with one exception. When Crazel starts spouting off his alchemy theories, I'd rather run for the hills. What do you think of the old miller, anyway?
I don't know what to say to that. I still don't know him all that well.
I understand. Best not to bite the hand that feeds you for no good reason. Thanks for talking to me. It really is good to have someone to pour my heart out to. But now, about that saltpeter. Before you came, and before Zenek fucked up with the manuscript, we collected saltpeter all over the place, mainly in sties. It has to be scraped from the walls, horrible work, time-consuming and annoying. I'm not going to lie to you. We also looked in a few chests, just in case. You know. Anyhow, now all the styes in the region are scraped clean and we're sitting pretty on a nice barrel of saltpeter.
A barrel isn't much.
But we did bloody thorough job. Unfortunately, Crazel said we need at least 6 times as much.
6 times? Will 1 saltpeter pit be enough?
I reckon so. There should be as much as Crazel needs for his masterwork. If you're looking for it, you ought to know how saltpeter forms. Do you have any idea?
No, I don't. And Crazel, of course, didn't tell me shit.
Don't forget that saltpeter crystals are formed in places where something is rotting. It can be shit or carcasses. Well, a saltpeter pit is actually nothing more than a mass grave. The best natural saltpeter maker.
Crazel said saltpeter is a vessel for life energy. I get it that it's left over from dead bodies, but how do you get it from shit?
God's mysterious ways. You know how it is.
And he also wanted me to taste it. That's nonsense, though, isn't it?
Unfortunately, it isn't. Otherwise, you won't know if it's saltpeter or some other shit. It feels kind of cold on the tongue.
Jesus. And you know where to look for such a pit full of carcasses, do you?
Not exactly, but I have an idea. Times are evil and there's plenty of corpses. A person who's digging holes and throwing dead bodies into them and doesn't even know he's got a a saltpeter mine.
The local gravedigger?
Exactly. And the one we have here in the region is also the knacker.
Well, I haven't met him yet. Where can I find him?
The cemetery is beyond Troskovitz, towards the Apollonia rocks.
So I'm in for a walk to the cemetery.
Seems like it. Too bad you couldn't have walked around the county with us before. It was fun. And pretty useful experience. I learned a lot during that time, and I won't keep it to myself. I'd be happy to teach you something, if you want.
I'll keep that in mind.
That old gravedigger will be suspicious, so I'd bring him some kind of offering. He's always dragging those carcasses, so I'm sure he'd appreciate a slab of fresh meat from Troskovitz butcher.
Good idea.
He lives a short way from the cemetery, so at least the meat won't go bad on the way. Lots of luck, the poet.
What is this lair place?
Crazel built a store so all them honest, curious people in the mill, the likes of Hensel, wouldn't have to worry their little heads about what we're doing here.
You mean behind that boarded-up door in the cliff?
We're definitely not doing anything there right now. 'Cause of the mess in there. I told Zenek to clean it up. I think he wants to see if the place will get so rotten that saltpeter will bloom on the walls.
Tell me something more about Zinek.
He's Andy, that's for sure. But also a bit of a fool. To be honest, I don't care for Crazel's whole shit most of the time either. I do this job because it's fun. Unlike Zenek. He does everything for his own good, doesn't give a damn about any greater cause or other people. Actually, he really pisses me off with his attitude. And he entertains himself by coming up with the stupidest nicknames for me. Dunga, for instance. What kind of a bloody awful name is Dunga?
Oh, lovely. And what does he call himself?
Scruffy. Or Jan, Nicholas, Franz, Peter, Jakub. The most bland, everyday names. He tries to be careful, but then he opens his big mouth and fucks it all up, just like in Troskovitz.
How was the saltpeter collection and tasting again? Sounds pretty disgusting.
It wasn't so bad. Zenek kept whining about it, but being a saltpeter collector, it has its benefits. When you go and clean someone's sty, They don't pay much attention to you and leave their purses and chests unattended. We made a pretty decent amount on the side.
What, by stealing?
Confiscating property for the greater glory of God. I hate the term stealing.
Just like Crazel. What do you know about the Troskovitz gravedigger?
He's a pretty tough old bird. He follows the rule, I'll treat you the way you treat me. And he appreciates when a fella's direct and open. But I probably wouldn't tell him everything about us.
So, Bonnie, the most honest girl I know, sent me. I'd like to see some dead animals as models for painting a church fresco. A scene from the apocalypse.
That might be a bit much, but you learn fast.
Why do you work for the miller?
Because he pays well and don't care how much coin I make on the side.
You mean by stealing?
And he doesn't ask any stupid questions.
What did you do before?
I got by any way I could. Believe it or not, I started in a convent.
You? A nun? Well, why not? I was in the cloisters myself for a while.
Oh well, different people have different fates. But we all ended up here anyway, in the armpit of the world.
What do you think about Crazel?
You're another one of those that don't know if they should love him or hate him, eh? Crazel is his own man. Once you learn to get along with him, you can't help but admire him a bit. But sometimes he's unbearable as soon as he opens his mouth.
I heard you could teach me something.
Sure, why not? If you pay me, I'll teach you a few of my tricks. And what would you like? Take care now.
Greetings, my friend.
Long time no see, eh?
Crazel gave you another job.
Yeah. I proved myself to him last time, so why not continue our collaboration?
Did you come here to make fun of me? Just like Bonnie? As soon as she showed up, she gave me hell over that manuscript.
No, not at all. I just need to find out something only you would know. What do you know about the gravedigger?
Not much to know. He's half gravedigger and half knacker. He takes care of both dead people and animals.
I'd never have figured that out without your help. Anything more interesting?
He's my father. And he's a wizard, same as me.
Yeah, right.
It's true. I was born the seventh son of a seventh son. I have the power of clairvoyance and I can raise the dead. I'm just hiding out with the miller until my time comes. I've been chosen to save the world.
Yeah, nice story. But if I'm going to get the miller some saltpeter, I need to know something useful.
Oh, aye. You're not much fun, are you? The gravedigger's as boring as you are. Also, he knows when he's being lied to, and he hates it. So don't even try it.
You see? That's the kind of thing I wanted to know. Was that so hard? So, Zinek, have you any experience with saltpeter?
I never want to see that shit again. I still have the taste of it in my mouth. And Bonnie and me was taking turns tasting it.
Weren't you afraid a dead soul would enter you through it?
What? What are you babbling about?
Dead souls pass time in niter crystals, don't they? That's why the miller is looking for them. To bring the golem to life.
You fool! We're looking for saltpeter to sell to butchers for salting meat. There's good coin in it.
Well, the miller told me something different.
You can't believe everything he says. A golem in the mill. He's yanking your pizzle.
You're all just trying to confuse me.
Crazel's a good teacher. You know how it is.
What can you tell me about Bonnie?
Well, you mean Cheeks or Jezebel?
Are those nicknames?
Dunger, Snowdrop, Vixen... We always come up with the stupidest names, and nobody sees through them anyway. Bonnie's been here the longest, and has the most experience. I'm surprised she still puts up with Crazel and his mad notions. And I think she likes animals more than people. When I try to talk to her about work or weather, she gets bored.
What sort of place is this?
Our secret place, where we can quietly plot sneaky plans for our beloved Miller.
Behind that boarded-up door? What's inside that cliff?
You know, storage, rubbish, rats, filth. Look, I know Bonnie ordered me to clean up in there. Thanks to you, I'm sure the movement of goods will start again soon. So it'd probably be good to have some order around here. I just haven't got round to it yet.
Why do you work for the miller?
Well, how can I put it? Anywhere else, they'd have kicked me out by now. The miller's the last person who'd still give me a job. He says every idiot is of some use at least.
And you see that as a compliment?
I see a coin in my hand every week. That's all I care about.
What did you do before you started working for the miller?
A bit of this, a bit of that. When I was still a boy, I stirred lye at a tannery, and then I slaved away at a dye house. But since I came to the town, it's been, well, let's say not exactly honest work. But that's what I'm best at, see?
What do you think of Crazel?
Is this some kind of test or what? I can think what I want, and I keep my opinion to myself. And you ought to do the same. Take care.
Greetings.
Careful. Good day to you.
Well, I hope I've proven I'm not all hot air. Will you tell me more about yourself now?
Can't you just leave things the way they are?
I have to get to know the people I work for, at least a little.
Let me give you some good advice. People will always tell you what they want you to hear. And that's not always the truth. Try to get to know someone through their actions. Those mean more than 1,000 empty words.
You seem like a reasonably educated man, Crazel.
Where are you going with this?
Well, I reckon you know some interesting and useful things. If you share them with me, it'll make it easier to endure all that bullshit you spew.
I'm glad you know what you're getting yourself into. Are you interested in the theory of light, kinetics, or vacuums?
That's a bit too fast for me. What I need is the basics.
I have no time for the basics.
Well, I'll be happy to give you some groschen for your troubles.
I can't now. Come back later.
I hear you let your hands fight each other. Could I have a go too?
Who told you about that?
Hensel told me. He said I can join if you allow it.
Hensel did? What a blabbermouth.
So can I join in?
Well, all right, since you already know about it. Them three slackers of mine ain't exactly had their finest hour in Zhelyov. Maybe they could learn something from you.
To Zhelyov, you say?
Aye. Once in a while, I send my strongest hand there to test his mettle against the locals. He earns a few groschen, and I sleep better at night when folk around know I have a hulk of a man like that here.
And if I beat your hands, would you send me to Zhelyov? I could also use those groschen.
We'll see. You ain't beaten no one yet.
God be with you.
Good day to you. I'm sorry.
Good day. What would you like? See you soon, my friend.
Enough!
That's right. Take to your heels. Nice hit. Yeah. Don't spare it.
Quick! Go! Ka!
Everything all right, eh?
Come here. Quick! Die! Go!
Al.
Die! There now. Quick! Quick! There now. Quick! Quick! Come here. That's a fine maypole. Yes? Hmm? Good to see you. Greetings.
God be with you. Keep the peace, and we'll stay friends.
Thank you, and take care. Fucking steel. Where are you? Pliers. Oh well, what can you do? Farewell then. What do you want here, you scoundrel? Why'd you barge in here?
I heard you could use a helping hand at the forge.
I could. My last two hands, well, they're not worth mentioning. And what with the wedding coming up, the work is piling up. Ah, what do they call you?
Henry.
I'm Radovan. You should know, Henry. The blacksmithing isn't for everyone. Have you done it before?
Yeah. I basically grew up in the forge. My father was a swordsmith, and not just any. He even forged swords for the nobility.
For the nobility, eh? Well, that kind of experience will come in very handy for me indeed. As it happens, I have to forge a wedding present for young Lord Semine. A fine sword.
So you'll take me on?
Hold your horses. I'll have to try you out first. You could forge me a hunting sword as a test, so I can see if you can make a straight blade. That shouldn't give you much trouble if your father was a swordsmith, should it?
Sure thing. I can get started right away.
Great. Find some iron and get started then.
Iron?
You can't make a sword out of butter, but if you don't have your own stuff, you can get everything from the chest in my forge. Go over to the anvil and let's get started. Furnace is cold now. Give it a practice try. Some things, like swords, are too long to fit in the fire. You have to heat it up. Try poking it around for a bit. Now get the furnace nice and hot. There's a lever above you. Give it a pull. It works the bellows. take it out from time to time and take a look. Try it out. See? That's exactly the straw color we want. You've got talent, lad. Now heat up the whole thing. The whole thing is heated up now, so come over to the anvil. Try moving the sword along the anvil so you can get the hang of it. Now take the hammer and try hitting it a few times. See the sparks? That's the sign of a good strike. The more sparks, the better. Also, you can hammer with different degrees of power. A stronger hit will do more, but it'll tire you out faster. Try giving it a few blows, as hard as you can, so I can see how strong you are. That's got a nice ring to it. Of course, if it was all about hitting an anvil with a hammer, any dolt could do it. You've got to hammer the workpiece evenly. One hit next to the other. Very nice. You're doing just fine. But when I say evenly, I mean it. A sword has two sides, like a lot of other things, including myself. Turn it over and continue on the other side. Nice. Now try forging it on both sides. The closer it is to being finished, the more it will take on the shape you want. It'll cool off soon anyway. Henry, when you've got a workpiece heated up, you can't just stand there and gape at it. Move it. You're standing there like a fence post. It's cooled now. You can't do it all in one go. You've got to put it back in the furnace from time to time. Sometimes you've got to go there and back all day. But it's all part of the craft. Now, get back to the forge and heat it all up again, like before. Thing is heated up now, so come over to the anvil. Hear that? Besides the sparks, you can tell a good strike by the sound it makes. Struck. Well struck. That's the ring you want. sparks. That's the stuff. See how it's taking on the right shape? That's how you can tell it's almost finished. Now, I've got a piece of advice for you. Hammer to a rhythm. When I hammer a piece to a beat, the work goes by easier. Sometimes I'll whistle to myself to keep the rhythm going. There you go. You've got it finished. All that's left is to temper it, and the sword will be done. The rest is just tweaking. Right, let's have a look. Well, I've seen better blades, but it's not complete rubbish. I could give you a chance. Even so, keep in mind, it's all about making sure every strike does its job. That's why you can't let it get cold, or keep striking the same spot. If you work evenly, each strike falling right next to the last one, you can't go wrong. Got that? Or is there something else you want to ask about?
How do I know a good strike from a bad one?
By the sparks that fly up. And by the ring. It rings out with a different sound when you do it right.
What's the right way to heat up the workpiece?
Do it till it turns the color of straw. Ideally, the color should be the same everywhere, if your forging's going to be even. The main thing is, don't work it cold. You just ruin it. But don't overheat it either. As soon as sparks start to fly off it in the furnace, take it out.
Why should I forge evenly?
If you keep hammering the same spot, you'll never finish it. You'll just fuck it up. But jumping from one end to the other ain't a good idea neither. You'd end up working unevenly. The best thing to do is aim each strike next to the one before.
How will I know it's finished?
Notice the shape. The closer you are to finishing, the more precise the shape it will have.
Thanks. That's all I need to know.
You can sleep in the chamber by the woodshed. And there's a chest where you can keep your things. And of course, you can use the forge anytime you want. Any questions?
Where can I get materials?
You can buy some essentials from me. But if you want to make a fancy sword with lots of ornamentation, you'll have to look elsewhere. This is just a village, you know. The locals ain't after luxury. And they can't afford it neither.
What can I do with the items I've forged?
Well, you can sell them. Though you probably won't have much luck around here. But I'll happily buy some of the nicer things from you.
What now?
What do you think? You're not going to be idle. I'll find you some work to do right away. You're pretty good at swords, but what the locals really need is axes and horseshoes. Right, here are some simple drawings that show what they're both supposed to look like. And some iron. You can get down to it right away.
Just like that? You aren't going to help me?
Sacre, lad. I chose you because you already know a thing or two. I'm not going to look over your shoulder all bloody day. You take care of these smaller jobs. Forge away as long as you're able, and then sell it all. Once you've made some coin and feel like being out in the open again, I'll give you some more interesting work.
I should do it more evenly. bit longer. It's almost finished. And that's it.
What do you need? Hurry up! I don't have all day.
There's a couple more things I'd like to ask about smithing.
Ask away.
What good does it do me to whistle while I work?
It makes you work to a rhythm. You won't get tired so quickly, and the iron feels it.
Thanks. That's all I need to know. I'd like you to teach me something.
For a few groschen, it's no problem. What are you interested in?
Go!
Yeah.
Quick!
Go!
Yeah. Yeah.
Go!
Yeah.
Go! Go! Quick! Go! Go! Good.
Greetings, my friend.
I'm Henry. And you must be the local gravedigger, right?
Ignatius, master of the sod, at your service. Looking for a final resting place, are you? Or do you need to bury a dead goat?
I'm more interested in the grave-digging profession as a whole.
Ah, once you try it, you'll never want to do nothing else till the day you die.
You got a big cemetery here. Pretty nice, too.
Ain't it? But being the gravedigger, I'll never have a place of my own here. They'll throw me by the wall like a dog and bury me without ceremony. But when I'm dead, I won't care. If it was up to me, I'd even bury the suicides in hallowed ground. We're all equal before death and the Lord. This game of better and worse places of final rest don't count for nothing.
What's the story with the dead people?
The story? They're dead. What more is there to tell?
But you said there's been a lot of people dying around here recently, right?
Well, it ain't usual for people to get offed by the cartload out here in the sticks, if you ask me. What do you reckon?
I don't know. Hadn't really thought about it that way.
That might be the reason, then, hey?
What?
Look, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying there's a lot of people dying. If things keep up like this, I'll be out of work in no time. There'll be no one left to bury.
Being a gravedigger must be a lonely job, eh? What are your duties?
Funny a young lad like you is so interested in grave digging. Not something you see every day.
Well, I'm only asking. No real reason.
That figures. Youngsters these days wouldn't know hard work if it bit 'em on the arse. It's no wonder I can't find any help.
Are you offering me a job?
No. I'm giving you a warning. You ain't cut out for this trade.
And how do you know that?
You've got that look. I can spot it a mile away.
Could you be more specific?
You just aren't cut out for it, and that's that. A gravedigger needs passion. A sense of duty ain't enough. It's a service, a labour of love, and the meaning of life all in one, lad.
Have you been a gravedigger your whole life? Have you ever thought of changing your trade?
I did think about it once, if I'm honest. I wanted to be a knacker in Yitchin, but some fool with friends in high places got the job, though he can't even tell a shovel from a spade. That really pissed me off, so I said, fuck it. Why would I want to dig graves for people who don't appreciate my craft?
So you've always been here otherwise?
And what of it? Do you think I get bored here? Not recently, I don't. But I think I told you that already.
I'm not from these parts, and I've seen a few conciliation crosses around here. What do they mean?
The same as where you come from, I reckon. They mark spots where the sins of man came to be regretted later.
That's an interesting way of putting it.
Aye, like when a fella buries an axe in someone's head over something stupid and then comes to regret it. Or if the law sees to it that he regrets it. The sinner then has to erect a conciliation cross to mark the site of his evil deed.
Where does he get the cross from?
Where do you think? From me.
You're in charge of that too? Stone cutting?
I know how to cut a cross out of stone. And what of it? With the soft sandstone around here, it's child's play.
So they're all your work?
I wish. I've only sold 2 or 3 recently. Most of these here are right old. You might find a few stories about them in the village chronicle what's kept at the rat house. All I know is a young fella once jumped off the cliffs near Packoff, and folks say the place is cursed.
Do you know any more stories?
Aye, I do, but I'm not telling you any. I'm not an old fishwife.
Unfortunately, I had to bury both my parents recently.
My condolences, lad.
Thank you. I just don't know if it was done right.
Did you witness their deaths?
Unfortunately. They were killed in front of my eyes.
I understand that's never easy. But if you closed their eyes and buried them in consecrated ground, you've nothing to worry about.
I dug their grave next to our smithy. We didn't have a church in our village.
Well, that can't be avoided sometimes. Don't let it bother you. As long as you picked the spot with good intentions, that's all that matters. I'm certain their souls went straight to heaven. You needn't worry. You did everything right, lad.
But seriously, Ignatius, tell me about yourself.
Gravedigger, knacker, Snorter's constant companion, and lover of colourful sunsets, all in one man.
You've nearly got more titles than the Emperor himself.
Well, I have been doing it for almost 40 years now. The bailiff pays me well, in coin and sometimes in goods.
Sounds appealing.
Not all that glitters is gold, lad. A gravedigger's got it hard, and so does a knacker. I pick up dead animals on the side of the road. That's the knacker's job. You could say I have a knack for it. That's why people say I'm unclean. If I had children, they wouldn't be allowed to marry anyone besides an executioner or a gravedigger. It's so ingrained in folk. A fella takes care of things they wouldn't want to handle themselves, and this is how they repay him. Can't even go to the tavern no more.
Ignatius, I'm going to need your help.
Of course. How many are there? Where do you want to bury them? Shall we grind the teeth up, or do you want to take them away in your purse?
None of that. I have a different, slightly unusual request. Bonnie from Lower Semine sent me. We're looking for a saltpeter pit.
From Lower Semine? What pit?
A saltpeter pit.
I ain't never heard of nothing like that. What's it supposed to be? A pit to hell?
Nah, it's actually just a pit full of carcasses. These white crystals form on the walls of it, and that's exactly what we're after.
Ah, now I get it. You should have said you're looking for the pit I throw carcasses into. What's all this about Salty Peter? I'm going to go there anyway, so I'll take you there.
Really? That was easier than I thought.
Not even a chicken scratches in the dirt without hope of reward, though. You'll help me with something first. I have some collections from some Stratego farmsteads, and I'd be a fool if I didn't use a helping hand. At least one day I can take it a bit easy.
You want me to help you with your grave-digging business?
Why not? You look like a strong fella. You'll be a good helper.
I have a better idea. You tell me where I can find that pit, and I'll give you a nice piece of fresh meat for it.
I won't say no to that. Show me what you have. Oh, aye, fresh meat. What a feast that'll make. Now, listen closely. That pit of yours lies at the end of a long journey that we'll take together on my wagon.
So you got meat out of me for nothing?
When I see how much you lot in Lower Semine are interested in it, I'm not just going to hand it to you on a plate. But thanks for the meat, and don't worry about a thing. Grave digging is a job like any other. Sooner or later, everyone needs our services. And if it wasn't for us knackers, folk would have to deal with their animal carcasses themselves.
Of course. I understand. I'm just a little worried about what people will say about me when they see me with you. I wouldn't like to lose the honor I've earned as squire to a nobleman.
Don't worry about what people say. They'll only strip you of your honor if you let them. So what then? Shall we take a nice little ride with my boys Snorter and Dragonfly here? Nice and early, at daybreak.
Yeah. Let's get this over with, then.
The dew is still on the leaves. The roads are clear. Hop on the wagon and Snorter and Dragonfly here will take care of us. Did I bring that stuff for Visor? Meat?